Hello everybody and welcome back to Paleo Springs State Park. In this episode today we are going back and revisiting one of our old habitats, namely the Megaloceros, and making some fixes based on your feedback. Again, if you watched the park tour 2 weeks ago, I said in that video that, a lot of people said that my habitats were too small and the animals felt cramped and, things like that. And at the time, I agreed, but I didn't really think more on it than that. But today is the day, and the first person mode honestly really allowed me to look at these habitats like I never had before. And so we're going back and we're fixing it. And we are, again, I will admit when I'm wrong and I will fix these habitats when I can. So we are giving the Megaloceros the room that it deserves. And not only that, but we're expanding the herd in this episode as well. You'll see in the live play, we end up adding some baby animals, the first baby animals in the park after that new update 14. So super excited for that. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm pretty much reusing some of the elements that we had in that habitat from the beginning. I think we built this habitat, or the old one rather, I think we built that in New Year's of 2024-25, and I think that was a New Year's Day episode if I remember correctly. But yeah, we built all of that stuff in there, and I didn't want to just not, I just didn't want to delete all of that stuff because some of it was still pretty good. Like this backstage area, I think is pretty good. It does the job. And that viewing gallery, we do end up adding some edits later on to that viewing gallery and making it even better than it was before. And honestly, I think now it might be one of my favorite viewing galleries in the entire park. But the keen-eyed among you will notice that this habitat here, we are reorienting it. So now this connects outside the park. And that's right, you heard that correctly. Same with the Morrison Formation mini-series, the campground that we have there. There's no ticket entrance to get into those campgrounds. Ideally, you would have bought that before you came to the park, or maybe it's like a situation where you can kind of just pay as you go or pay as you stay, I guess. I don't know. But what we're doing here is we're attaching this to our education center, actually. And so I actually like this a lot, and we will see during the live play, this gets a ton of use because, again, this is a free exhibit. Aside from paying for parking, I would assume, obviously that's not an actual mechanic in the game, but for a real state park, you would have to pay for the parking, or, maybe it's a situation where maybe it's like $5 for parking. I don't know. But yeah, so you go through the main gates, and then essentially after that, you don't have to go through the main gates of the park and buy admission to that, or again, have your ticket ready before you come in. So again, this is free, and I did this because it's a much larger area for these Megaloceros to interact with, and I really like that aspect of it. I wanted this to be sort of more naturalistic, and so we're using these pine trees here, kind of just filling in the gaps, and I'm really surprised. I went in after the live play, after I was done recording with all of this, and I added in some terrain paints, so I apologize that's not in the video in any part, but you'll see it later on down the line in some of the future videos. You can notice the terrain paint there, but I'm really, really pleased with how the fencing, this is just the in-game fencing. So again, I can't upload this to the Steam Workshop, but that old one is already on the Steam Workshop. And if you want to use it, you can go and break it apart just like how I did, use this video as a reference there. But I'm really, really pleased with how the fence kind of just melts into the background, and you can't really see that fence there. It makes it feel, to me, much more like a national park or, you know, something like that. We do get really, really close here with the foliage count there. I added in some birch trees just for some texture, some difference there from those pine trees that we have here in this Northern California park there. For those of you that are new to the series, one thing that I like to do is wherever I have leveled those redwoods, those sequoias, I add in pine trees back, and I don't add the redwoods. Those are trees that are a lot slower growing, so it would take a lot longer for a forest of redwoods like that to, you know, recolonize that area. Maybe there would be one or two, but, you know, for the most part, at least from what I know here in Florida as a Florida master naturalist, some of the first things to colonize a new area or a freshly forested area after it had been cut down for, say, I don't know, a cattle field or a farm or something like that, is pine trees. And pine trees specifically, there's a type of pine tree, and I forget the name of it, but there's one specific species here in Florida, at least. I'll try to throw it on screen if I find it, but there's one specific species that colonizes those fields more frequently and more easily than any other, but it sort of paves the way for other plant species to eventually utilize that area again, so that it can again become a forest eventually. Now, I didn't want this to be a super dense forest. Obviously, I wanted it to be sort of a open plain, I guess, a grassland that you could see, where, you know, you walk up this way and maybe you walk out onto this deck. This, I think, is one of my favorite things that I've built in the park. It sort of makes it feel pretty realistic here, in my opinion. And we're basing this again kind of off of the Brontosaurus exhibit that we did, where we have that pathway, sort of that elevated walkway going up, that guests can view those Brontosaurus a little easier. But I wanted to have this here, and it's super cool when we add the babies and they can actually run underneath this pathway, but the adults can't because they're too big. It's super, super cool. So that's something that we're gonna have to think about as we go on, of how do the juvenile animals here interact with these environments compared to the adults. And so, yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing here. You just see me scrap those planks that I put there. I tried to make it bespoke and, you know, have the slat railing there. Eventually, I just went with this, with the pre-game grid piece railing there, and I think that, honestly, I think this is fine. I didn't want to spend a ton of time on this because, again, we already kind of had this habitat, this environment ready to go from, you know, New Year's Day of 2024-25. And so, yeah, this is kind of just fixing our mistakes, or, well, my mistakes here from those past environments there. I'm a little rusty at the game, so I did actually mean to duplicate that over, and you'll see I had to kind of go back and do that a couple of times for whatever reason. It's been a really long week at work, and again, for those of you that don't know, that aren't familiar with the channel, really, I work in a art museum currently, but I worked in a science and history museum for about 6 years. So I've been working in and out of museums for close to a decade now, and it's been a really long week. We have summer camp coming up, and for those of you that know about summer camp in a museum or a zoo or something like that, God bless you, because it is rough. It's really rough with the summer camps coming up. So yeah, super easy build here today, not too in depth or anything like that here. I'm filling in these gaps here with the beams, with those poles there. It gets the job done. We kind of hide the ugly bits there. But yeah, the important thing is that these Megaloceros are finally getting the room that they actually deserve. And these Irish elk, as they're called, for those of you that didn't watch that video, are not actually elk. They are more closely related to modern day fallow deer, European fallow deer. And so some of the patterning that we have here for, I think notably the females, is the fallow deer, that European fallow deer color there, that coloration that they have with the dappled fur with the dots on it there. The babies are heart-crushingly adorable. They are just unbelievably adorable there. And I noticed that since they updated with those juveniles, they added a few modifications to the social structure of some of these animals. So for the Megaloceros specifically, they state in the Paleopedia that they're cool with 2 males in their social group. So one of those babies is actually a male, and I say this in the live play as well. I record that bit first a lot of times if sometimes things don't sound like they kind of conjoin together with the speed build part here, but I added that part. What was I saying? Here we are. We're building that ticket booth center where you drive in, kind of blocking off the road there. I talked about this again in that tour that I did 2 weeks ago there, that I kind of wanted to make this feel more like a national park, and I think it does a pretty decent job. I think the roof might be a little too high watching it after the fact, and kind of looking at it after the fact there, but it's pretty good and it gets the job done. What was I saying? I was saying something about the Megaloceros there and how the European fallow deer, what was I saying? Oh well, it's fine. It'll come to me eventually, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Oh, it did. This is unedited. It just came to me. So again, I say in the live play, but I want to say again that these juvenile animals, these baby animals that we have going in the park, these aren't the only ones that we're going to be adding. We're going to be adding them for a few species, but the babies that are created now, I am deciding that we are putting them on the slowest possible setting. We are putting them on the realistic setting, and so that means that it'll take, I think for the fallow deer, or no, not the fallow deer, the Megaloceros, it'll take 6 in-game years for those babies to reach maturity. And so my hope is that with all of these baby animals going in, we get more to sort of a more realistic herd for a lot of these animals, and that you guys over the course of these episodes can watch them grow and watch them get more connected, or watch you guys get more connected to these baby animals. Maybe ask me in the comments how certain so-and-so, I think one of the baby animals, or one of the baby deer, his name is Rafferty, I think that's the juvenile male that we're adding here. Super cute, super adorable. So I hope that you guys get a little attached to these animals, because I know that I definitely will. And it'll be fun to kind of watch them grow up again with that seamless growth transition that they have in this game now, which I was not expecting when they announced that. I wasn't expecting that they were going to go full realistic seamless growth. I thought they were going to be doing kind of like how they do with Planet Zoo or Zoo Tycoon as well, and just have the growth stages of like it's a baby and then bada bing bada boom, it's an adult, and there's no real transition there. But it's so cool to see the transition from a little tiny baby deer to a full grown with antlers Megaloceros. So I really am excited for those as those species in the park start to grow up here. I'm doing right here, this is the cross guard for the road so the cars can't drive in, but it's doubly functioning as a block for the guests. So, we have the fence for the new Megaloceros habitat going all the way to the road, down the road there. And I didn't want guests to be able to access that. I didn't want guests walking down this road and going to go and view them on their own accord. I want them to view them, from within the park or within the sort of designated areas. I didn't want a flood of people walking down the road. That would not be safe. So we put in these cross guard here, again, just to sort of re-signify that this is where you would drive in and all that sort of stuff. This is where you buy your ticket. For those of you that have been to a U.S. national park or a state park, this is kind of what those shacks look like. It definitely could be better, but I didn't use any reference materials for this. I should have, but I didn't for this part, and it gets the job done. It's okay. And we're adding in a welcome sign. Finally, you can just sort of see it there in the corner. We'll add a actual welcome to part above the Paleo Springs there, but finally the park has a welcome sign, and that to me is probably the coolest part about this whole thing. I think the building is kind of whatever, but the welcome sign and the road guards for the cars, those are honestly some of my favorite things. I think the road guards you'll see me mention in the live play, I need to shorten up there and kind of make a little bit smaller because they are quite big. But yeah, I have maybe a couple minutes left here, so this is where I'm going to leave it for the speed build voiceover part, but stick around, and the live play is coming up in just a minute, or again, the link is down below, or the timestamp rather is down below if you want to skip ahead to that. All right, everybody, so we're back here in the live play now, and let's pop into first person mode and take a look at this entrance gate. And you got to see it while I was doing the speed build just now, but I like this fence. I've been to some state parks and national parks where they have the fence along the side of the road here to keep in the wildlife, or to keep out certain things, people, I guess, too. But yeah, coming in here now, we have finally a welcome to Paleo Springs sign. I think I could maybe play around with the heights of these. I'll adjust that eventually off camera, but I think I could play around with the heights of these. I think these might be a little too high, but I really like how they turned out. They really sell the barrier here for a car or something like that. And yeah, I guess I wish I had cars. It's snowing again. Maybe I put in the footage at the beginning of it. If I didn't, I'll throw the footage in now and just kind of lay it over top. But yeah, when I went to start recording today, it was just snowing non-stop here in the park, and that's super cool because we are again in Northern California, but it's not great for recording. But again, because this is a challenge park, we don't really get an option for that sort of stuff here. And actually, I'm gonna just stay in first person mode, and we'll run through the forest here, and hopefully this ends up decent in post. But yeah, we have now the Megaloceros, and you can see all these people coming over here. I say we have now the Megaloceros, but we have now the Megaloceros redone, and I love this boardwalk here over the hill where you can see these animals. They have a lot more room now. Honestly, this is what it should have been from the beginning. And again, any state park here, God, that's awesome. Any state park, here in the U.S. would have plenty of room for these animals, you know, and pretty much the whole park itself would be dedicated to these sorts of animals here. But again, because these are prehistoric animals, just like the modern day dire wolves that Colossal Biosciences has created, we're not going to release these into the wild just yet. But maybe eventually Paleo Springs will turn into a true sort of paleo park there. I love, again, these visuals here. All these people standing around, you know, just sort of waiting on these binoculars here. That's fun. But yeah, we reused a lot of stuff here, so kind of a quick build here. But I do have for you guys the first babies that we're gonna add into the park. So say hello, everybody, to Rafferty, Svetlana, Kayleen, and Gaya. So we're going to drop these in here now, and hopefully I'll place them over here near the females. You know, maybe they will figure out that one of them is their mom. And let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at Rafferty. He's going to be our other male, and we're adding in a bunch of these. We're going to be adding in a bunch of these babies here into the park just because, you know, I think it's fun. You know, we've never had prehistoric babies here. Who is their mom? Callie. Okay, that's good. She's the mom, okay, to all of them. That's good, that's good. Awesome. So, yeah, we're going to be adding in all of these babies, not all species of babies into the park, but we're going to be adding some in here. Again, kind of tripping over my words here. But yeah, these little baby Megaloceros are so cute. They are so adorable with the fawn coating there. And again, I love now we can really see their herding behavior because of the new update, but also because they just have generally more room, more space to run around in. And that's awesome. You know, this is, again, what it should have been from the beginning for these animals here. What else? What else? Oh, these babies here, they are on the realistic time mode. So they are going to grow up super slow. So again, we introduced you to them here in this video. Let me know down in the comments which one is your favorite, if you have a favorite. Maybe this one here, maybe that's my favorite. I like the coloration on there. Who's that? Kayleen. Okay, that's a cute little baby deer. Oh man, he's even laying down in the grass like a little baby deer. That's a story for another day. But yeah, we actually just had with my partner, her grandma found a little baby deer in their yard. I'll try to throw in the picture for you guys so you can see, you know, just a cute little real baby deer. But these guys are awesome. But yeah, so they are on the realistic time mode, so they're going to grow up super slow. So again, you guys will get a chance to get to know them and get familiar with them, and who knows, maybe if this series keeps running for, I don't know, another 20-30 episodes, then maybe some of them will have grown up. Maybe the game will be out in 1.0 then. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it off for this video here. I hope you all enjoyed it. And again, if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate your time. And, you know, there's a million things you could have been doing today, but you chose to spend a little bit of that time here with me and watch me rebuild a habitat from a previous episode. And we're going to go through and redo some of these as we go on, and some future episodes as well. I have some big plans, so I hope you all are excited for that. But again, that is all from me, so I will see you all in the next one. Take care for now.